going.
Yes.
So
Tonight we have A.J Morris on. Welcome.
Hey guys, thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it. And I hope I can provide your listeners with some good quality content today.
Oh, I'm sure you do. I'm sure you can. So, AJ, tell us about yourself. Who are you? What are you doing? And how old are you?
Sure. So I'm 23. I'm turning 24 at the end of this month. So pretty much 24 years old. I am primarily an online coach. So I work for, my company is called Team MBM. And I've been doing this since 2015. I was coaching one-to-one in the gym with just general population clients for a year and a half. Then I realized that I wanted to work with bodybuilders because I'd found my passion for the sport. Competed first in 2014. And I'd also helped a friend to compete in 2015. So I knew that was where my calling really was. And that working with the general population side of things was what built the basis of learning that I liked helping people. I liked people chasing their goals under my guidance, but I wanted to sort of take that a little bit further and put people on stage as my main priority and main sort of coaching service. So that over the last sort of pretty much 5 years has been my day-to-day life. I wake up, I get on the laptop, I work and train, and that's sort of my day. It's not crazy exciting from the outlook, but for me, it's perfect. I love exactly this sort of day-to-day process. And for me, alongside that, it fits very well with my own sort of personal journey. So I compete naturally. I competed last in 2017, and I won the British junior title with the UK FBA, and that qualified me for WMBF Worlds, where I competed and won the Junior World Championships as well. And now my next goal, well, it was prior to this whole Corona shit, was to compete this year and ideally chase my WMBF Pro card. That was the goal at this moment of time. And that's why I took the best part of 3 years off away from the stage to improve. And maybe that's something we'll get into a little bit in terms of the length of time that naturals need to take off. And now my goal is really probably, we were talking off air about it, but I'm probably shifting my prep to next year, just because, already my federations, all of the qualifiers have been cancelled. So it's just looking like if there was a show for me to compete in, it would be just an open invite British final. So I'd skip the qualifier bit, go straight to the British, which would mean that potentially my year could look like just doing one show. If I don't qualify for the Worlds, I'd prep for 25 plus weeks to step on stage once against a competition level that I don't even know what it's going to be like, because some of these people are probably going to be without a gym for 2-3 months, whatever's going to happen over the next sort of period of time. So I think realistically we're looking at next year to get back on stage. Yeah.
Okay. So you had your first competition in 2014.
Yeah.
You were 18, 17?
Yes, 18 years old. Yeah.
18 years old. And when did you start training?
So I started training in around about 2011, 2012. So my background before weight training, bodybuilding was motorsport. So I raced karts all around the UK and in Europe. My goal was just to be involved in motorsport for the rest of my life. It was like my main passion. And I loved it. And the only issue with me not going further with that sport was financial. But it did definitely teach me a lot about, dedication, how to apply yourself, and made me realize how much I wanted to be like competitive in something. Because I needed that drive to compete. So when I stopped doing that, which was only in 2013, so like literally just the year before I stepped on stage as a bodybuilder, I'd already been like weight training, but it wasn't specifically for bodybuilding. I'd say my actual bodybuilding specific training started in maybe late 2013, early 2014. And I literally just went straight into a prep, which is not what I would advise people doing. Not at all. I had a good base because I understood that I just had to eat to grow. So I got like very heavy and got decently strong, but at the same time got very, very fat. So I had to lose a lot of weight to get into shape. But I stuck to it. I didn't miss a beat. I loved it from like the get-go, and I was working part-time in retail in a supermarket during the whole prep, and most of it was working outside, collecting trolleys from a supermarket and putting them back. So I was doing like 25-30K steps daily. Probably dieting on the most amount of food that I've ever dieted on as well, because the expenditure was just fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, that's kind of the opposite of the daily day you have now.
Yeah. Now it's just sat on my ass all day. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't advise that someone just went in with that little experience. But nonetheless, it, as a sort of a positive note, like competing earlier on in your training career definitely gives you that positive experience with getting on stage. Like a lot of people wait a long time until they step on stage because they think, oh, I'm not ready yet. And they miss out on potentially gaining experience and gaining sort of an awareness of what they look like on stage, where they need to improve, and knowing whether they've got the minerals to get down there in the first place, you know. And a lot of people might wait years in an off season and then realize they can't adhere to a stage diet. So, you know, that their bodybuilding journey is better spent gaining and just looking big and doing great things in the gym. So yeah, it was good in a way and bad in some others.
So you started weight training while you were doing motorsports, and that was what got you into that? Was that just maybe looking good for girls, or and then it turned into bodybuilding somehow? How did that? You started weight training. A lot of guys start to weight train when they're young. You know, it's what boys do. It's not. It's hardcore lifting weights. But what made the switch from
motorsports to bodybuilding?
Yeah,
no, motorsports to training to bodybuilding.
Yeah, sure.
Besides the financial part, of course.
Yeah, I mean, the weight training aspect of things, I was always like kind of intrigued by weight training from quite a young age, to be honest. Like I remember looking in like catalogs at home for like home gyms and shit like that, and like imagining what I could fit in my bedroom of like, you know, this weird fucking setup from a very, very young age, like 11, 12 years old. And I was fascinated with the idea of, you know, changing my body and changing the way that I looked. I can't say that I ever really did it to just look better for other people. That never really drove me forwards. I mean, definitely at some point I was like, okay, now looking half decent is now paying off a bit, because there was a period where I was kind of like balancing both, like going out quite a bit with my mates and training well. I was very small, but I was lean, so I just thought I was big.
The girls thought you were big because you had
because I had like caps, delts, and one bicep vein, and that was good enough.
Yeah,
works every time.
It works in the teenage years.
I know, like I never ever wear like vests really ever when I train now. I just don't like doing it. But back then, like it was the only thing that I wore. So it did make me more confident for sure to get into it. But the transition from like, you know, motorsport to weight training was kind of linked, because a lot of people don't realize how demanding motorsport is. It's very, very physically demanding, and you know, today's top drivers are all incredibly fit individuals, and they have to. What you have to do as an athlete on track is balance a very, very lean body composition with pretty fucking high levels of like muscular strength in certain body parts, especially your neck and your traps, your forearms, and that's probably why like my neck's not a good body part. I wish I could have more of a neck, but my forearms have always been crazy big because I was used to doing a lot of grip training. Even just my dad used one of my old wheels, my steering wheels, and attached about like 30-40 kilos of lead to it, and just made me sit and hold it and twist it for like as long as I could until my forearms just gave way.
So you hit failure.
So failure. Yeah.
I could also imagine it's very demanding when you have to focus for so long.
Yeah, it's very neurologically demanding, hugely. Especially how young I started. Like I was in carts that were doing, 75, 80 mile an hour when I was like 12 years old. You're sitting your ass on the floor, and you had to be ballsy. You had to be very ballsy to be good at it. You had to build up a lot of confidence to go for moves. You had to build up a lot of confidence to drive in the weight. It's just, yeah, it's a crazy sport to do at a young age, and you have to adapt to it. So I think that's probably what built up a lot of my mental resilience when it comes to bodybuilding. Also, like a few other things have built on mental resilience, but that's probably one of them. I find bodybuilding, without sounding like relatively cocky, I find it quite straightforwards, because there really isn't too much complexity about bodybuilding.
No, you get what you get.
Yeah.
I always say there's no team player who can score the goal for you.
Yeah, too right. That's a good thing.
You get what you put in.
Nobody can eat the food for you. Nobody can lift the weights for you. Nobody can cook the food for you.
No one can go to bed at time for you. It's all up to you.
Which is the same when you sit in a cart.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you have mechanics, you have people working on the cart, but you're the one that gets it to where it needs to be. You're the one that picks up the pace. You're the one that goes for the dangerous moves. So yes, both are very sort of self-demanding sports. I don't know about you guys, but I really hated team sports because someone would just always let me fucking down.
I do play soccer, actually. I started when I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
And I still do. I still play. I had like 2 years off.
Okay.
And then that's when I got very caught up in bodybuilding and started dreaming about competing. And I was like, okay, I need to drop soccer. I need to focus on, or football. You're not an American. We can say football. I have American friends, so I'm used to say soccer. And then I focused all on bodybuilding and became very obsessed with it. And I still am, but I figured that it keeps me, it adds something to me to be able to play something that I enjoy during the off season. It's just once or twice a week. It's good cardio. And the social part of it is nice also. And it's something I enjoy playing, but I don't play to, of course I'm competitive as shit. So I always, when I come to a game, I come there to win, but I'm not like, oh, we have to win the league or anything like that. It's just, it's just a hobby besides bodybuilding.
Doing something fun when you can switch off.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And have something besides bodybuilding also.
Yeah, I think for us that's really important, and a lot of people don't include that in bodybuilding in their regime, is something to take them away from bodybuilding a little bit.
And it could be whatever. I like playing video games when I need to switch off. Works wonders.
Yeah, I saw you just got the PlayStation, right?
Yeah, I'm getting back into it. I'm fucking atrocious at it right now, but I'm getting there. So
Modern Warfare then.
Yeah, I got Modern Warfare. I got a few racing games. I want to get, like, I mentioned this when I was on Cuba's like Pro Muscle podcast thing. At some point, I do want to get like a full setup, like a full racing sim. Spend quite a bit of money on it, because that is something that I would genuinely invest my time into.
Make a man cave.
Yeah, like a man cave. I'm not sure Danny's too keen on me having a whole room for it, but that's what I want. Yeah.
Well, I was looking forward to come back on the football pitch now that prep was canceled and because the show was shut down and all this, but now we can't play soccer either. That's all. Everything is shut down. So I've been back playing a lot of World of Warcraft recently, which is something I used to do a lot before all my bodybuilding, even before soccer. So I've been getting back to that, and it really switches me off at night when I've trained, and I come home and I've prepped my meals and all this, and I just have an hour for myself. Blue light blockers on and just switch off.
And
then take your sleep stack and then go to bed.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, no, I agree, man, for sure.
Let's talk about training.
So
maybe AJ, you could tell us a little bit about how you train for those who don't know.
Okay. Sure. So I'll give you a little bit of background, so you know maybe how I've trained in the past and then how I train now. So
Great.
When I was doing my own programming and I started to sort of gain a little bit of awareness as to how I wanted to train, I trained with a lot more total volume and a lot more total frequency than I train with right now. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. I don't think that there's an issue with training in a higher volume fashion or a higher frequency fashion if that's what works for you and you found that is tried and tested and gets you results. It certainly made me progress for a certain period of time, but I believe that with that style of training, there is a ceiling, and there is a point where your strength level can no longer fit that bill, fit that place within that training regime, and you have to make room or make changes to adapt that new level of strength. So for me, on that volume I was training, on that frequency I was training sort of 6 days a week, 3 to 4 sets per exercise, and it was still not even like a proper bro split. It was still push pull legs with like an upper lower hybrid. So I was training like very, very frequently. My body parts were being hit a lot.
A lot and hard and often.
A lot and pretty hard. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't training like an absolute wuss. I was definitely training with less intensity than I train now. That's for sure. I was definitely what I would call sandbagging, which is basically just like holding back on sets. So like if I had 3 total sets, my first 2, there'd probably be two or 3 in the tank. And then my last set would be the hardest set. That would be how I'd approach generally most of my workouts.
Yeah.
Very different to how I approach sets now. And there's pros and cons of that. So the pro, obviously back then, I was able to accumulate quite a decent amount of volume, quite a decent amount of effective volume as well, because if we consider that some of those sets are relatively close to failure, and then there's one that's really close to failure, there's quite a few effective reps there, because we know that effective reps sort of lie between 4 and 5 away from failure. However, I was getting like a lot of injuries, a lot of fucking injuries, like even at a young age. Like I was getting tendonitis from the amount of squatting I was doing. I was getting tendonitis when I'd then go to press. So all of my pressing went to shit because of tendonitis. Lower back niggles, left hip niggle. Right before I started my prep in 2017, I as JP would say, pinged a few fibers in my adductor, but it was probably more than a ping because I could barely walk.
Daily thing for him though.
Yeah, exactly. So I should have just walked it off. But yeah, so that was my training back then, and that pretty much was my training for the whole of that prep. So I think about towards the end of it, I started following Jordan a little bit more for not just looking at the site and like watching the videos, but by that point in 2017, he was putting out a little bit more as to how he actually trained. Like prior to that was the videos. I don't know whether you watched the old videos, but they're very basic. Like you saw the workout, but you didn't really see him talk much. It was just, It was a bit of music in the background. And you didn't really sort of see the session really.
Yeah. You didn't get the thought process behind.
Yeah.
I think he's much better now at showing what goes on in his mind before this big set. And the training style that you just talked about, the higher volume with the 3 sets, and you really only treat the last set as the counting set, with the sandbagging, where how you train now, how Jordan trained, how we train, you treat every set as it's the only set you have for that day.
The one set mentality.
Yeah, the one set mentality where you hype yourself up for every set, like every set count, and it doesn't matter if it's the hack squat or it's the bicep curl or the calf raise. Every set counts, and every set we aim to progress every set.
Yeah, for sure.
I think I totally agree that he's much better at explaining that thought process. And on this podcast in Danish, we have encouraged everyone to
we tried our best.
Yeah, we've tried to be to spread the word, trained by JP and your podcast also, by the way. But yeah, continue.
So the transition was relatively slow. I started at the end of that prep to introduce what I would call top and down sets as opposed to top and back off. It was just my way of calling it. And I think I actually got that from potentially just following. I started to follow both Jordan more and conversely a little bit of Mike Israel's stuff as well. And he was mentioning the idea of doing like a one all-out set and then accumulating more volume with your down sets, like preceding sets. So instead of leaving my last set when I was already pre-fatigued to be the one that was the most like highest proximity to failure, it was now the first one. And then I'd do sets after that, 2 sets to accumulate more volume. And then that obviously worked for a while, and I was able to actually probably retain a little bit more muscle by switching to that approach as opposed to the previous one. And with myself getting leaner, I was also reducing the overall volume a little bit, just for recovery purposes. And then sort of post-competition, I had the idea in my head that I was definitely going to follow more of a lower volume approach because I was already enjoying that style of training with the top set. And I was just like, well, what happens if I just do just one back off? Because I was finding the third down set, the one after the first one was just a little bit too much. Especially as I was getting more skilled in the neurological aspect of training, like you said, in terms of the hype. I was getting, more ability to be able to hype myself up. Just connecting with that sort of drive and determination to take a set all the way there. And this is something that I say a lot, like it's a learned skill being able to take sets all the way there. And that's why I think that some people do need more volume when they are starting or are newer trainers. Like as much as they can definitely respond from less, they need to be a little bit more affluent with the skill aspect of lifting weights before they can really learn how to take a set all the way there. And when they demonstrate that, that's when their volume can start to come down a little.
Yeah, I have experienced that on myself. When I started working with Kuba last year, he obviously didn't know that I had been working with Jordan for a year also.
Okay.
So I remember the first training program he gave me was like a lot more volume than what I have now.
That was disgusting.
Yeah, he jumped on one of my leg sessions. It was crazy. It was something like, I think the whole...
We had 22
sets or something like that for a leg day. It was, it was and I was training in that fashion as we do.
Yeah.
So oh my God. I remember the first leg day, 5 days after, I still needed help from my girlfriend to sit on the toilet. It was ridiculous. So I've experienced that on myself, that approach that as a coach, you don't know how hard people train and you adjust as you go. Yeah. So my volume now is obviously a lot lower, especially on legs. Fuck.
Yeah.
I think when we had that leg day, we spent 3.5 hours.
Yeah, we did it in Rotherham too.
That was an ultra flex, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yep.
How long ago was this? Was this like a year ago that you started with Cuba? Or?
I started working with Cuba in May.
Okay.
Last year, and that was in the beginning of September.
Yeah.
But because I had one pretty much
before that also.
Yeah.
In the summer.
Yeah. We switched the training program in October, I think.
Yeah.
So after like 5 months of getting to know me. But also I had during the summer, I think I had 5 or 6 weeks of total travel where I didn't train. And so we have to find a balance.
Yeah. I think that's actually coincides with when Cuba was going through his too much volume phase as well.
Probably.
It reflects.
He went through a phase in the summer where he was trying to train 3 days on, 1 day off with quite a lot of volume. And I remember Jimmy coming in, and this was when I first moved to here. And Jimmy was dragged along with Cuba, and Jimmy kept saying, "This is too much. This is too much." they always go back to the same sort of split. Even I've suggested the idea, in a few of our sessions, I'm like, what if we do a little bit more? And they're like, no, because they always go back to the same, 2 days on, 1 day off, 1 day on, 1 day off.
Yeah, that's what we both have, and he's under Jordan.
It works. It just works.
It wonders.
We just switched mine to that from having a normal push pull legs, but with a 2 on 1 off.
Yeah,
So,
I think the rest either side of legs is just perfect.
yeah, so you can say when I had the 2 on 1 off, but it was still push pull legs, that would always through to and with 2 rotations attached, every day had a rest day on either side of it.
Yeah, that's nice as well. I think the thing is, you just need, as you get stronger, like this is the point of, my whole sort of adaptation with training is, as you get stronger, you're just going to need ultimately just more and more rest. And it sucks, but I know now if I went up to more frequency than where I'm at, I know that I'd get beaten up really quick, and I'd either have 2 options. I'd either have to train with like less intensity, which I know I don't want to do, or I'd have to do something ridiculous with my recovery, like take 40 naps a day to be able to recover from it, which is just not like possible or efficient for me.
Oh, even though you're in a pretty good position to be able to do so.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I kind of could nap, but unfortunately business is very busy. So for me, in my day, I'll be lucky if I get 1 nap.
And you need the dog walking.
Yeah.
Barney, oh my God, I love Barney.
He's a good
Please
dog.
keep posting. My girlfriend loves it.
He's a good dog. No, he's been a very good addition too. Like he gets me in even a better of a routine, to be honest, because I was getting a little slack with my steps, and I started to feel very, very lethargic at the end of my off season, before I started to dip into this diet. And he just like obviously wakes up, wants to go for a walk. So getting a walk in first thing was a big game changer in terms of just that last little push for appetite and things like that. So yeah, it was a good move getting a dog.
Yeah. So I don't remember how far did we get into the training talk. So now
I pretty much covered everything. So I think the only thing to add was like obviously now I train with the similar approach to you guys in terms of just one top set and 1 back off set for most things, and obviously a little bit more total volume for isolation based movements, especially on like weaker body parts. I think the only other thing that I might maybe toy with in the future is, and I know that this is like, a horrific word to say in the bodybuilding industry, but I might toy with an arm day at some point, just because my arms they're not growing. I know they're not growing. They need to be improved. They need to be bigger.
There's
I
nothing
want
wrong
them
with that.
visually bigger as well.
You saw Jordan's post on Hyder. They just
yeah, I did. With regards to the quality of physique, yeah,
where Jordan says, you need to look at the physique. If everything needs to grow, don't have an arm day.
Yeah.
But if you have space, so Hyder, he has space for an arm day because his back is really, really good.
Yeah.
He might have the space to do that. But if you're up and coming, if you're a first-time athlete or you're just in your first few years of training and you need to improve everything, then there's no reason for it. You're already a world champion, a junior world champion. So you need to look at what needs to improve even more so than other things. And that would obviously be a good addition, because then you get to train them when they're fresh.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that sort of, for me, it makes sense at the moment, because what I would do is I would just train push, pull, arms, legs off. Yeah. And then I'd maybe only do that like once every other week or something, depending on how I was feeling.
Yeah.
And the arm day, like what's an arm day gonna do like on a day that would usually be resting? Like, let's face it, a bit of pump from arms is practically a rest day. So
yeah, because there's no CNS.
Nothing.
Stress.
Yeah, nothing. And more focus. Like I find like as much as I fucking love training, like everyone's gonna be the same in the sense that when you hit the end of the session on a pull day, when you've done RDLs and rows and pull downs, you get to the end and yeah, you want to do biceps, but your focus would arguably be better if you just did an arm day with just the biceps and triceps.
Yeah.
And I've even tried in the past, like doing my arms like in the middle of the session or in the front of the session, and it just never seems to work, because on the day where I'm pulling or legs or whatever, I always want to focus on that. I don't want to focus on my arms. Like,
yeah, when you're 2 days out from your pull session, you're just thinking about that deadlift.
Yeah, you are.
You're not thinking about the preacher curl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You wake up that morning thinking of the deadlift, and then it's like, oh yeah, we have to do those 2 sets of biceps.
Yeah, I know, and it's. I think one of the other things with the arm training as well is just my execution definitely needed to change a little bit, and training with Cuba helps quite a bit with that because he's just got incredible arms. So I just listen to everything that he says with arm training. Take on board a few of his exercises that he's done in the past that have worked well, and I've done the same thing sort of back and forth with Cuba for his back training, because there was quite a few things that Cuba could do better with his back training that I could have done better with my arm training. So it always helps to have a training partner, I think, that has your weak body parts are his strong body parts, and my weak body parts on the other is strong. Yeah, it works well because you can spot technical flaws in execution that for you would come really naturally. Like on a bicep curl, Cuba would point something out really easily that I was fucking up. And like on a row, I could see when Cuba would start to use his biceps or his traps or whatever. It's really easy to spot when you're with someone and when you do it quite naturally in your own training. So yeah.
I look at when you look at the calves, I always, if people have, because someone like Emil, he has great calves. So training his calves at the end of his leg session where he is fatigued and the focus is not the same still gets the job done.
Yeah.
For someone who doesn't have great calves, it would be ideal, I think, to maybe have them first in the session.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
And that probably wouldn't take anything away from your pressing or your squatting. But you can't do that on a pull day, because if you did biceps curls prior to a pull downs, it would take away from it.
It would, yeah.
So that's the whole. We just launched an episode last week, I think, on
exercise
selection and programming. So that was a nice talk to finish up on that. But so you train
with the boys.
You train with the boys.
Yeah.
Train with Kuba. You train with Jamie, Jimmy, these guys, and we do know they are not natural. And we brought you on here specifically to touch on this topic because we've had a lot of listener questions about should natural
these natty versus enhanced. So we thought, why don't bring on the natty to answer these questions?
The world champion natty who trains with the enhanced people.
Enhanced.
So how do you see the main difference in between building muscle while being natty versus enhanced? Is there a difference?
Sure. I mean, the straightforward answer to that is no, not really. There is a lot of difference in terms of the phases we'll go through. So like when Cuba and Jimmy will be in a cruise phase, their volume will and should come down. And also you'll notice it's really easy to spot. I mean, they obviously tell me when they're going through these phases, but I could spot it. Like now, since training with them for, must be coming up to the 5th month that we've done at least one session a week together.
Yeah.
I can tell just straight away. I can tell by how they approach a set. I can tell by how a set moves. Whether they're on a good run or whether they're at the end of a cruise or whatever. It's very easy to spot. And like with Cuba, usually it's his aggression with a set. Like he was struggling at the end of the cruise to like work up aggression for a set. And I think the only way I can sort of put that into perspective with a natural is when I'm at the end of a prep, I can't get aggressive. I just can't do it.
Low testosterone.
Yeah. And that's, me probably, if I was to do a blood test at the end of prep, probably very close to like being hypergonadal. So it's not surprising that I'm not working up aggression, whereas Cuba at the bottom end of a cruise is probably still above my, highest levels as a natural.
Yeah, he's still
25 nanomoles.
Cuba probably still in a super physiological level.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah, agreed. But for him, it's still a difference. For him, it feels lower. It feels like it's not the same. So there's definitely a difference in terms of going through the off season, like physical wise. But besides that, like recovery seems to be very similar for all of us. We don't seem to have huge differences in recovery. If anything, because of my loadings down on some things, and I don't have the same sort of like nervous system demand for a session like push because I'm a lot weaker. I'm being able to handle a little more volume on some things than Cuba and Jimmy does. But again, I think I need to head in the direction of doing a little less sometimes, because I still sometimes get carried away with my own volume. I still think that sometimes more is better. And it's still not a lot. Like, so for example, on a leg day, they might do, 2 sets on the pendulum and then 1 set of leg press. Whereas I'll always want to do the 2 sets on the leg press and, do the extra 1 because I like doing at least 2 sets. I've never thought 1 set is enough, if you get me. Yeah. But then I'll come back for the next rotation and they'll be fresher than me and I should have done less. Yeah. So yeah, recovery is pretty similar. And then, I mean, the main thing, like why I like training with them in terms of like the psychological side of things is I think for the last like 6-7 months, I've not felt big ever. Like I've not felt big once. And I really like that because I know that when I step back into the natural realm, like I haven't been to a natural show since November, but I know when I go backstage and I'm ready to compete, that's when I'll start to feel big because I'll be like, oh fuck, I'm actually surrounded by people who aren't on gear.
Around giants.
Yeah, I'm used to like looking at Cuba and thinking, fuck, I'm small, or looking at Jimmy's legs and thinking, fucking hell, I'm way behind. So I need to work harder, or I need to, sleep better, or I need to, organize my meals better, or do something better to try and catch up.
So chasing enhanced physiques will help you on the natty scene.
Oh yeah.
You're surrounding yourself with people who inspire you to be better.
Yeah.
Even though you're not in the same league, so to speak, it's still the same goal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
So what we have talked about on this podcast is the thing that builds muscle, the mechanisms of hypertrophy
is the same.
It's the same. It doesn't change if you're enhanced or not. And therefore the training you do is still the same, but you might be able to recover better. And as you said, if you're going through phases, that will obviously go up and down accordingly, but so does it for a natural, as you said, during a prep or a mini cut or during an off season, you also alter your volume depending on which phase you're in, if you're deloading. So it's kind of the same. I'm guessing your take on that is.
Yeah, I do agree 100%. I mean, the deloads that we've run all together have all been a very similar time. We don't seem to roll into issues any sooner than one another. I think just like a lot of people get confused with the principles that, an assisted guy, because they're stronger, they'll do, less volume, or, what you got to remember is everything's relative, So for me, the current nervous system demand of me being at this strength is probably similar to that of Cuba and Jimmy on some things, because we're just, different people at different levels, and their nervous system is relatively adaptive. So you can keep pulling a stimulus through it, and at some point it will have to adapt a little bit. So for me, at the end of this off season, and even now, like being at all-time level strength, I've felt the most beaten up I've ever felt in my entire life, like really beaten up. But I know that adaptive process is now in place. And if I was to continue an off season and get stronger incrementally, because I know it's probably not going to be as quick as I've had over the last sort of 4 months, then I would start to adapt a little further. And, again, I sometimes I'll also notice that with, it makes me feel better with some of the bad sessions that I have, because it makes me realize that even though they're assisted, they don't just have good session after good session all the time. And a lot of people sometimes think, oh, well, when I go assisted, I'll just be strong and every session will be great. That's not the case. You know, you'll have your backward sessions as well as your forward sessions. And sometimes I find, you know, their discussions, it almost confuses you even more when you've got drugs in play, because, you know, they're like, oh, well, I'm on a blast now, I should be strong. And then they just have an off session and they feel very frustrated at it. And that for me makes me realize how lucky I am to have slightly less variables at play, because I know if I fucked up my sleep, then that's an issue. I know if I've fucked up food for some unknown reason, then that's my issue. But they've got a few more uncontrollable variables at play, which is something that you need to take into account, I guess, if you go down that route.
Yeah, sure.
So what about reps in reserve and training to failure? Because what seems to be the trend here in Denmark is that
natty guys need high volume and the juice heads can do the low volume.
Okay.
The natty guys needs more training to build the same amount of muscle.
Okay, interesting. I mean, I think, you know, there's it's not like there's no weight in that principle. Like there's definitely some weight in that principle for some people. And I think that there are certain physiques that definitely respond well to higher volumes, whether that's reps in reserve or not. One of the great examples in terms of like response to high volume training as a natural is Rich Godzeki. He trains with incredibly high volumes. Like I did a leg session with him.
Yeah, that was the leg session you did, like drop sets on the hack squat.
Oh my God, man. Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, I couldn't walk for about a week and a half.
Fuck.
It's
10
just
days?
absolutely awful. He's responded fairly well to that. But he definitely doesn't train with reps in reserve. He just trains with really high volume.
So that's both high intensity and high failure.
Just
high volume, sorry.
All of them. Just everything all at once.
High frequency, high intensity, high volume.
Yeah. So
you must have great recovery.
God knows, mate. I don't know how he's alive. So yeah, there's merit in doing a little like some phases of high volume, but I just think naturals are scared of going low volume because they think that, you know, oh well, you know, our training is our only stimulus to grow, so we must do more to catch up or to be a certain size. And I think you're always going to limit one big thing when you just train with lots of volume or even with reps in reserve, is that you're going to always limit your strength. And the strongest naturals are always sometimes the biggest naturals. Yeah, like this all the time. And even Rich is immensely strong. And a lot of these guys probably in Denmark that are training with reps in reserve are not strong, and they're just fucking around with really light weights all the time.
We've got one extremely strong natty
that trains with reps in reserve.
But he is like 1 in a million.
Yeah,
he is huge.
Daniel Riskov, I don't know if you
send me his profile. I'll have a look later on.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people in the UK that do similar things with the reps in reserve that like.
Steve
I just think.
Hall?
What's that?
Yeah, the Steve Hall and the Revive.
Yes, the Revive team. Yeah, I mean, Steve's very smart. Don't get me wrong. And Steve probably is one of the people that utilizes reps in reserve in a good fashion. Yeah, because he knows the principles and he knows exactly how to apply them. The issue with a lot of people that follow then follow Steve and then follow his principles is that they don't know really how to apply them that well, and they put together this fancy spreadsheet and, you know, follow these perfect volume increments over the course of a mesocycle, and they haven't actually learned how to apply intensity. So their final week where they are taking things to failure is still very far away from where it should be, and they're always holding back. So their amount of effective reps when they were in week 1 and there were 4 RIR were just nowhere near where they needed to be. Then instead of 4 RIR, there were maybe 10 RIR.
Yes, because if you've never trained to true failure, you have absolutely no clue where failure is.
Yeah, agreed.
But one thing I want you to touch on is that connection between strength and muscle size, because we do know.
Yeah, we have talked a lot about this. You're not getting stronger because you're getting bigger. You're getting bigger because you're getting stronger.
Yeah. So there's a correlation between size and strength. And if we are not training with the maximal load that we could be, because we're holding back, sandbagging, as you said, and we're using less load than we are actually able to, compared to using as much load as possible with the one set mentality. I want your take on that, the correlation between strength and driving up strength for building muscle instead of accumulating volume.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of obviously studies both ways in terms of volume being a driver for hypertrophy, and some people believe that it's the main driver. However, I think that we all believe, and I definitely believe, that mechanical tension is the biggest driver of hypertrophy. So load on the bar, the progression of that element. So I think if a lot of people, or a lot more people, focused on the logbook and driving those numbers up and increasing the amount of total tension that they are putting on their body over time, that they will be a bigger human, provided that the stimulus, i.e. the form, stays the same. I think I've noticed the most progress doing that. However, I'm not blind to the idea of moving through higher volume phases to see how well I would respond to that. You know, I remember after the session with Rich, he messaged me and he said, you know, like, have you ever thought about training with more volume? Not necessarily a session like that, but he said, you know, I know how you train. Have you ever thought about doing more? And I was like, well, yeah, I have. And there's no reason why I wouldn't try that for a block of time. You know, very much like Jordan tried RIR. You know, Jordan tried RIR. He saw himself get smaller. He saw himself get weaker. Not a good approach for him. If I was to try a higher volume approach, I would try it for a period of time. I would see visually how I was looking and how I was feeling, how I was recovering, and make a well-rounded opinion based on that. But I personally think if I was getting weaker and then I was replacing that loss of strength with more volume, I think I would look worse. But that's just a hypothesis. I don't know whether that would actualize or not, but that's a hypothesis.
Based on the statement that strength drives hypertrophy. You know, if we can lift more load, we can build more muscle. Then that would make sense.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, for sure.
And regarding the volume is the driver of hypertrophy, you could argue that is somewhat true, because if you're doing 100 kilos barbell press for 10 reps and you increase that over the course of 4 months to 110 kilos for 10 reps, you have increased your volume. You maybe not have added any reps or sets, but you added load to the bar. You've added mechanical tension, and through that volume, that is volume.
Yeah, you're right.
But that is through driving up strength, which is the approach we train with. We're not powerlifters, we're not strongmen, but strength definitely has a play and a role in bodybuilding style training. Yeah,
accumulating volume through strength progressions.
Yeah, because you're definitely accumulating more volume in a session now than you were 4 months ago.
Yeah, 100%.
But you haven't necessarily added anything specific to do that.
No sets have been added, no.
No, that is just, and that is also why, as you said earlier in this podcast, that as you get stronger, you need more rest. Because if you're deadlifting 3 plates and 2 years later you're deadlifting 6 plates or 5 plates, you definitely put more stress on your central nervous system. It is adaptive, but not as much as the muscle.
No, it's way less adaptive than muscle tissue. Yeah, it's probably the least adaptive thing that we've got as bodybuilders. Obviously, we've got a relatively adaptive muscular system. We've got adaptive joints, tendons, and ligaments, but they're even slower than muscle, and probably even slower than that is your nervous system. The rate of adaptation, the rate of actual differentiation between individuals is actually kind of unknown, because it's very hard to do research on the nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got things like HRV. I know you've got an Aura ring. Yeah, I've got mine too. It's on charge. And we've got things like that which might help us with a little bit of research into the nervous system in the future and how adaptive it is, or what's the differentiation between people. But I know with working with clients that there is, I think, a vast difference between nervous system ability or efficiency, nervous system efficiency, between individual to individual. Because I've got people that can recover from way more than me. And there's no difference to food, there's no difference to sleep, but there's something ticking on in their system that's better or more efficient than me, or I'm better or more efficient than someone else. I think there's quite a big difference for sure.
So what about your thoughts on rep ranges? Like, because we do talk to CNS, know you are deadlifting relatively low rep, or have been recently.
Yes.
Yeah. Going 3s and 5s, and do you like your general thoughts on 1 rep maxes in bodybuilding and 3s and 5s? I know we see Jordan do a lot of these, but then you also have guys like Dante Trudell. I don't know if you follow him.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Saying that you should probably stay away from that, like below 5 and work up. What is your general thoughts on that topic?
Sure. So I think the lower reps you go, obviously the higher chances that you're going to run into an issue with regards to an injury. The skill acquisition that you gain from going in those low rep ranges, I think, is beneficial. So you learn how to handle those loads, and you learn a little bit about how far you can push yourself, and a little bit about what it takes in terms of mental toughness to be able to attack a heavy weight. The whole idea with the lower rep ranges for me, like when I visit a 3 or a 4, the goal is not within that moment to hit a 3 or a 4, really. The goal is the future sets that will come as a result of that 3 or 4. So it's turning the 3 into a 6 or a 7 or an 8.
New weights principle in some.
Yeah, that's it. And I think I've always come into that quite naturally, without even, like, no disrespect to Jordan, but like without even knowing that touching new weights thing was around. I've always I've always kind of just fallen into that idea of, okay, today I'll do a lower rep set, so that then the back off feels lighter, or that, so that then I can work this up from a 3 to a 6. And I know it always worked quite well, because I've always been able to progress pretty decently with that. I think where people get a bit lost in this principle is the whole aspect of, I think a lot of people feel, especially when they get more followers on Instagram, is like they feel the pressure of putting up a new lift, and like new PB. Like if it's not a PB, they're not going to post it. A lot of people, which is kind of unfortunate, because especially as we advance training age, you've got to realize that our ability to create progression is going to be less linear than it once was. And with people still chasing this almost linear aspect of progression, that's why you see a lot of people very, very fucked up and injured. And, again, like, no disrespect to Jordan, but he is very emotionally attached to that weight on the bar, but he is also quite injured. And, that's not a problem at all. Like, I think he'd happily say that he'd rather be injured than just not touch the new weights and not try it.
He does preach that you don't be married. I also think that he acknowledges that he is
married to the weight on the bar.
Because I know he's a great friend of Dante, and Dante is poking him all the time, saying, "Stop doing that."
I bet he is.
But it's also a balance of doing what you enjoy. Because if that is the way you enjoy doing the sport, and that is what, I would, if someone told me from tomorrow and onwards, you can never train to failure, you have to have 5 reps in reserve for the rest of your life, I would hate training. Because that's the fun part. So if Jordan feels like that about having to train with lighter weights, higher reps, he had just accepted the fact that he gets some injuries, but this is what he enjoys doing, and he will do it as long as he's able to do it. I always tell clients and people that, I make a training program from what I see optimal, but if you don't enjoy a part of it, if there's something you really enjoy, you want to incorporate it, of course we can make it work.
Yeah.
Because you need to enjoy your training, just like you create a meal plan that is optimal but also enjoyable.
Yeah, for sure. I think for me, I've always enjoyed doing some form of slightly lower rep ranges. It doesn't have to be every session. It has to be like when I feel like it, and when I feel like it's there again. Another one of the JP things.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge fundamental part of what makes me love and enjoy sort of bodybuilding, is that, you know, progression element of knowing that I can hit new weights, and I can lift things I've never done for even 1 rep. You know, every time I've hit a triple or a 4 repper, it's probably something that I've never picked up off the floor for or pressed for 1.
Yeah.
You know, when I shoulder pressed the 50s, I hadn't done them for 1. When I pulled 220, I hadn't done that for 1. You know, I don't think I've ever done a single unless it's been a huge fuck up of a set ever. You know, like I probably have done a single on like something at some point, but it's been my fucking fault.
I used to do singles on deadlifts way back. Like we're talking when I was training for the first 2-3 years. Just every once in a while, I would do my 1 rep deadlift.
Yeah.
And I stopped doing that, not just because I got caught up in the more bodybuilding hypertrophy rep ranges, but I remember then the last time I did it, I did 140.
Yeah.
3 plates for 1 rep, and I was like, I don't know, 16, 17 years old.
Uh-huh.
And then when I went back to deadlifting and I started doing, you know, more in a probably 8 rep range. And one day I realized, like, I'm 8 repping my 1 rep max from 2 years ago. That's a huge win. So I get what you're saying.
Yeah. I just think it's funny how people connect these 1 rep max to bodybuilding. Because when people ask me at campus when I'm in school,
how much do you bench?
Hey, what's your 1 rep max? And I'm looking at them like, how the fuck should I know?
I have absolutely
no clue.
Yeah,
I can tell you my 5 rep max. I can tell you my 10 rep max, but 1 rep max, I have no idea.
Yeah. And I think that's good. I think that's good to not know, because otherwise we'd be so tempted to keep improving that number, because we're all about progression. If we started doing 1 rep maxes all the time, we'd probably want to do more of them. And I think that's probably why, you know, not just Jordan, but people in that situation that have done a few doubles or a few 1 reppers want to go back and do another one and another one and another one, because you're always close to that next milestone. Like when you've done 7.5 plates for a single, you want 8. You know, you're not going to stop until you get 8. And then when you got 8, you probably want 9. And
maybe that's because we all feed on this feeling of intensity.
Yeah.
And nothing is more intense than a 1 rep max.
Yeah.
So you'll get this buzz from it, but it's...
I know every time I walk up to the bar for a 6 rep deadlift, I'm like, I just know when adrenaline is rushing, like my heart is going crazy and I always have to shit. Right before, that's my adrenaline. Like when every top set deadlift, heavy set, it's there. It's like if I was out on the toilet right now, it was gonna get bombed.
Yeah, you get that.
But you get that. You know, it's funny because my last warm up might be 5 kilos less, 10 kilos less, whatever.
Yeah.
Or a single rep.
Yeah.
And then you add this tiny biscuit on either side, and your heart just starts.
Yeah.
Because you know now it's go time.
10 grams of beta alanine hitting you in the face.
That's the 1 set mentality. Go and I agree. What you said, that it's not the goal that lifting 3 weights necessarily adding something hypertrophy wise, but it's the switch on you need to do to lift that weight, and then applying that to a higher rep range and have touched the new weights works very, very well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
All right. I think we are going to move into the questions.
Yeah, we have some listener questions. We of course have the big one you will get asked a lot. Oh, let me find them real quick.
Yeah, hold on.
I have one from our good friend, The Animal.
Do you?
We have a listener called The Animal translated.
Okay.
Have you ever been tempted to do PEDs? And if yes, what made you reconsider and not do them?
Sure. I think when I initially started lifting, I didn't really know that there was a huge natural scene. So I just imagined that I'd do a natural show and then go assisted and jump up to the assisted side of things, because I thought that that was the next sort of, like, that was where things happened. But then I realized that I could make a living out of coaching natural people. And I also realized that there was a very big level up process for me to go as a natural. Like, I realized I was at the very bottom of the sort of the tree kind of thing. So as soon as I realized that there was progression, and that there was the ability to have a very long-term goal, i.e. getting a natural pro card, then I was fine with staying natural. I think now, for me, there is some element always that's probably going to be there that's very tempting. I think especially when things like this, come around, like this whole virus thing or infection thing, it's like it makes you realize how short life is. And I'm like, oh, well, would I maybe enjoy life more if I was assisted? I don't know. Maybe I would, maybe I wouldn't. I don't think personally I've got the genetics to get as far as I'd want to go with it. I know I'd work hard and I know I'd get relatively far, but whether I've got enough to get where I'd really want to go, I don't think I have. So I think for me, staying in a field where I know I'm confident I can achieve my goal, whether it's going to take another 5 years or whatever, I don't really mind. I'm confident I can get there. So I'm happy to stay natural for this period of time for sure.
What about, you've never had the thought, or you've never had this idea of your dream physique, this is where I want to go, and thinking that is probably not attainable naturally? Have you ever felt that?
No, not yet. No.
Okay. Because I know a lot of
No.
people have, you have a lot of people in general population doing PEDs that are not even competing. And that is just because they have a personal goal of where they want their physique to be. That is maybe not attainable naturally. But you've never felt.
Yeah.
You've never felt.
No, I haven't really. I think for me, actually, like, no disrespect at all to like assisted guys, but on stage, I prefer the natural look, because unfortunately, a lot of assisted guys don't turn up as like clean or as polished as I would like to look. And there's some assisted guys that I definitely look up to, and I'd be like, wow, I'd love to have that level of size. But sometimes to get that level of size, and I know the level of size demanded at like the very top is huge, colossal, you have to sacrifice other things like your waist size, your midsection, your stomach. And those are things that I think are qualities that I would like to have in a physique. And then obviously the argument would be, well, go down the classic physique route, which is definitely a good argument. But at the same time, like for me, I don't look up to the classic physique look because I don't have a classic physique. No. So it's not comparable for me. However, like I do definitely look up to people like Terence, because his posing is just ridiculous. And I think everyone must look up to him because his shape, probably one of the best posers out there. yeah, for sure. So no, I think if anything, from a motivational standpoint, I've always looked up to top natural athletes. Probably one of my favorites being Brian Whitaker.
AJ, would you mind a 5-minute pee break?
Go for it.
I'll just pause it. But, and we're back again.
Short pee break. You didn't need to pee. You have a giant bladder. Maybe we drink more. You gotta stay hydrated.
I was just thinking, AJ, isn't training with Jimmy and Cooper, for example, making you think about it another time?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, training with those guys definitely makes me think more about it. But it also makes me see all the negatives that come with it. Like we've sat down and, Jimmy's got his blood work back, and there's been, a few things that have been pretty out of range, and that's pretty normal. And then I just sort of think, how would I feel about that? How would I feel about sort of having to have that sort of extra weight on my shoulders, that I've got to make sure that all of these things stay in range. I've got to keep checking in. And of course, for a natural athlete, it's still very important that your blood work is good. And I think a lot of naturals avoid that. Like, I got my bloods done before I started this prep just to make sure that everything was in a good spot. And to be honest, as a natural, it's probably maybe a little bit easier just to feel whether things are in a right spot or not. And then definitely with data collection, you can tell a little bit more from a client as well. Yeah, the aura is great for that. So yeah, there's a few things that definitely, whilst training with them, puts me off a little bit, because I'm not blind to just the size, and I think a lot of people are just blind to the size and the excitement of being that big.
Yeah, the manlyhood.
But that is why we also I added the question about the dream physique, because if that is your dream, to be that big, and accepting that is what it takes, then that is a whole lot of conversation.
Yeah, I think for the competitor, they understand what it means to go that route. But for some general population people, or people that don't understand PEDs fully, they just think, oh, well, I'll take what they're taking and I will be their size, or I'll be close to it. And the reality is,
just do as Big Joe down from the gym says.
What's that?
Just do like a Big Joe down from the gym says.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
But I know you just said that naturals should still look after the blood work. I'm thinking, especially at the end of a prep, things do get out of whack pretty hard for an athlete, right?
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah, so. If anything, getting lean as a natural is not healthy at all.
Getting shredded.
Getting shredded. Yeah, getting all the way there as a natural is not really a productive thing for your endocrine system. No.
If you're natural, if you're enhanced, whatever you are, if you're competing competitively in bodybuilding and you're getting ready, stage ready, not just local show ready, but if you're taking it there, doesn't matter what you take or not, it's unhealthy. It is an extreme sport, and that doesn't matter what side of things you are on. But yeah, should we move on to the next question?
Yeah, did you have one?
I have one training related question. Hold on just a second. No, I have it right here. Hold on.
All these technicalities.
I have a question from Mikael. He says, do you use isometric contractions in your workouts? If yes, for what reason?
Not really currently. No. I mean, you could say we do a form of an isometric hold at the end of pull day, but other than that, we don't really do a lot. I think they potentially have merit in some training programs as an intensity method. But I think if you are loading exercise as well and choosing smart resistance profiles, then you don't necessarily need them. Do you guys use those at all?
I use them. I wouldn't say I use them as such, but let's say I'm going into a push session, and as I'm warming up, as I'm doing my warm-up sets between them, I do isometric contractions just with either very, very light weight or no weight at all. So let's say I'm doing a chest press. I might just stand like this, get the pec all the way short, squeeze it there for a few seconds and go away. I feel that's something I've learned from Ben Pakulski. I feel it increase when let's say I've done 2 of 3 warm-up sets and I may do 5 in total. And I then do the isometric hold just for a few seconds, getting the pec all the way short, and also with the scapula before a press, getting it all the way back there, squeezing everything, getting the muscle fully short. When I then go into the next warm-up set, I feel my chest a lot more. That's the way, that's the only way I use it. So I don't use it in the workout as such, but I use it as a warm-up tool to connect better. I pretty much do that with every muscle group, and that's something I've I've followed Ben Pekulski a lot in my early years. I did the MI40 programs, the MI40 extreme programs, and he talked a lot about that, getting the muscle fully shortened as a warm-up, not fatiguingly, but activating, firing up the nervous system, he always says.
Yeah.
And that works. That's something I've been doing for years on end, and it works very well for me. It doesn't matter if I'm doing hamstring curls or biceps curls. Even I'm at the end of a pull session. I have some biceps coming up. I'll get the bicep fully short all the way back here, just squeezing it for a few seconds. Might do 2-3 times. It increases my mind to muscle connection. I would say like 70% or something.
Yeah, I think besides doing what Emil just said with the isometrics pre-exercising, Jordan of course have me doing the DC stretching, the extreme stretches, which is like the only isometric I really do.
Yeah.
And that's just the, I know you do them yourself. The 1.5-2 minute stretches with weight on. That's
at the end of the session doing loaded stretches.
Yeah, end of the muscle group doing the loaded stretching. That's
so
it.
Kuba has me do it after the session's done. So let's say I'm doing a push session. He still has me to do my chest stretch all the way at the end after I finish triceps and delts and all that.
Oh, I'll have them done after my flyers.
Yeah, so you do your flies and then you do your chest stretch.
So I have one from Anna, which is a long-time follower of yours.
Okay.
What do you think about pushing body weight up in regards to figure girls?
Okay, sure. I think a lot of figure girls are coming from either other classes or just generally don't have quite enough muscle for the class just yet. So there will be at least one big push-up that they'll have to do. And that usually is just as much of a push-up as, in relative terms, as a bodybuilder would have to make, because there's a lot of size needed for figure. Because it depends whether they're competing naturally or with the IFBB. But if they're competing assisted, then the size is ridiculous, and they have to get very lean as well. So to get all the way lean and still have enough muscle, you have to have a lot of size. So I'd say that the importance of pushing up as a figure athlete is pretty huge. And I've got a few of those at the moment that are in pretty heavy push-ups, and they've got to just get a little bit soft to get the size on that they need. And I know that it always pays off because it just does. Get strong, get a little bit heavy, get a bit soft, always works.
Wouldn't you say that this goes for any class? I think that for anyone to improve their physique, for anyone to build muscle, especially naturally, you have to take your body weight up in the off season.
Yeah.
And of course, it's all relative. As you said, if you're enhanced and you're competing against enhanced people, of course, you will need more muscle, but that is relative to your class. As a natural, the push up in body weight will be relative to your muscle. But for me, it doesn't matter if you're a bikini girl or an open bodybuilder. If you're looking to put on muscle, you have to take body weight up.
Yeah, you're right. I think the only sort of circumstance where you've got to be a little bit more careful with body weight is just when you're restricted to a weight class.
Yeah, of course.
It's the only thing. And maybe some bikini girls don't need to push up as much because, I mean, the thing is, it's all relative. So they all still need to push up at some point. So
I just think the problem here in Denmark is this pushing up body weight to gain new tissue is
neglected.
It's neglected because a lot of the girls like to stay hot and fit all year round and then just do like the 5 kilos cut and then stage. But they keep looking the same year after year after year. And doesn't understand why.
I think you touched on this earlier. You said that we would dive into this, so I feel this is a good opportunity. The time you need off stage to improve, because in Denmark we have a show every spring and every autumn. There's a spring every half year, and most people, the longest they go is a year.
Yeah,
and especially for naturals, that is not a long time to improve.
We are setting our 2-year off season right now.
Yeah, last time I competed was in May 2018.
Last time we competed.
That was the same show, yeah. And so I was supposed to be on stage next weekend. That is obviously not happened. But that would have been 2 years. And now that we're not doing the show, I'm not just pushing prep another few months, because I've taken it as a prep. You know, I was almost stage ready and still not where I want to be, chasing a pro-worthy physique. So we've given me an extra 18 months again before stage.
Yeah, and I'm getting on stage this October.
So that's been 2.5 years.
Yeah, I'm 27 weeks out now.
24.
Yep. Should we have a countdown here?
You too.
No. Something 20. No, you're 25 weeks out, right?
I will be potentially 25 weeks out. Yeah, this weekend. Yeah.
What date is that?
16th, 17th of October.
Yeah, that's about the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm. So we're 25, 24 weeks out now, and kind of waiting for the go from the Prime Minister to get back into working out. But about working out, I actually adopted your band situation. Yeah, because Jordan was like, we need to get this going now. So I bought a full set of AJ bands and got the foam roller ready to do some hack squats.
Good.
To start kicking this off in the next week.
Yeah, I mean, you need to do something, right? You need to do something. But in regards to the time off, yeah, you're right. You know, when you've got big goals to achieve, you need a lot of time. And even when you're assisted, muscle takes time to come on. It's not a quick thing. So it is uncommon for people to take enough time. People are very addicted to the stage, very addicted to the process of getting lean. And I can resonate, you know, like taking 2 years out from the thing that I love and the process of which I love is very difficult, but it's worth it because your physique will change, level up to the point at which you are then starting to achieve your bigger goals, as opposed to just achieving small, tiny ones and that short-term gratification of getting on stage again and again and again. So, yeah.
I think the main factor for me is that I was kind of embarrassed last time on stage. And we have been spending these last 2 years like having redemption and getting strong, maybe getting a little soft around the edges, but that's how it is.
Yeah, it will pay off.
Yeah, and we are quite sure it's a different package next time.
Yeah, definitely. I would say you're saying that taking 2 years off from what you love is hard, but I'm pretty sure you feel like me because my mindset doesn't change from off season to prep. What I love is the daily do. Yeah. It's getting up, doing my cardio, prepping my meals, having my training session. And, you know, that doesn't change at all during prep. There might be less food. There might be a little less volume, a little more cardio, but it's still the same thing we do.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about it. You know, that's what I said to Kuba, because my show has been postponed to the end of May. And he was like, we can do it at the end of May. And I said, no, because I don't do this to get on stage.
Don't do it for the gram.
I didn't start bodybuilding to get on stage. I started it because I love it. And the stage will always be there. So let's just do what we love and achieve the physique we want and then get on stage. And you've obviously done the same. I'm guessing you have the same mindset on that.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's slightly different in the perspective that obviously when the competitive season is going, I'm at shows every weekend with clients. Yeah. So I do pick up a bit of jealousy. I'm not going to lie, because I want to be up. Like for me, I obviously love the day-to-day process. Otherwise I wouldn't do it. But I really do love the competing aspect of it. I love getting on stage and, you know, trying to win. And I've not had that feeling in a while of, you know, I've won my days. I'll win my days, but I've not got that feeling of beating other people yet. And that's a cool feeling. But yeah, you know, I do agree with you that you've got to fall in love with the process to be half decent at this sport, because you can drop off so easily with consistency in the off season because there is less of a direct goal right in front of your eyes. And that's where a lot of people struggle. Yeah. When they have a long-term goal and it's not short-term, a lot of people start to slip away. But yeah.
I think one thing more about the pushing body weight we were in about right before. I know you're big on holding body weight for a certain amount of time, like we have been talking about this, but like you marinate.
You push up and you hold the weight.
Yeah, to marinate the beef to let it stay.
Yeah, for sure. I think the thing is, a lot of people push on weight with not much clarity as to what it's given them. So they tend to just almost have an excessive gain in water retention and fluid through, and then none of that's quality weight, especially when you're at the top end of your off season. So I prefer to reach a top end, hold it for a bit and make it look better. Like you said, marinate it a little bit, earn the weights. And then that's a much more solid weight to either start a fat loss phase or continue building upon it. Because when you're at that level of the off season, there is no reason why you can't still build muscle in a very small surplus, because you've got lots of potentiated energy from fat storage because you are at a very high body fat. The ability for you to still progress is there because you're at an efficient body weight. So there's no reason why you can't progress from a muscular standpoint in a smaller surplus. You don't need this giant surplus with 2 pounds coming on each week to be able to gain new tissue. No. So I think it's a very important phase for sure.
I understand that you get tempted for stage, as you said, you get the tingles if you have shows so often, because as I said, in Denmark,
we only have like 4 shows.
There's a show in either April or May, and then in either like
October
or November.
Yeah. That's very different.
Yeah.
And we're getting the tingles when we are there.
Yeah,
I bet.
These 4 times, it's like when you're sitting there in the crowd, you're like, sitting there getting all excited, or when you're in the gym and somebody,
or the smell of the tan.
Smell of tan and rice flakes.
Yeah.
When you're in the gym and somebody's doing their eye walks or their posing routines, you're like, I wish I could do that. But then you grab your
double chin.
Grab your double chin and be like, maybe not.
Yeah, agreed.
I don't think. Do we have anything else?
No, that was everything for today, man.
Yeah, what a pleasure.
Yeah,
pleasure, guys. Thanks very much.
And actually, I might see you soon, because Cuba invited the Cuba team to come over after the Corona.
Lovely.
Yeah. Good. So if I'm not able to make it in that weekend, he said I'm always welcome. So I'm gonna, as soon as the shit is over, you'll see me in a few weeks from there.
Yeah, and we'll be coming over.
And as a team, we will come over in October or November.
Yeah, when I'm done on stage, we'll come over. Stay for a week or so.
Awesome. That'll be mint. Yeah, cool. Yeah, let me know when you're down, and I mean, I'm sure I'll see you around. I'm always in there, so I'm sure.
Yeah, we went there in September when there was the
seminar.
The seminar with James, Jamie, and Cuba. And
yeah, I remember you from that, dude. Yeah.
We lived on that couch in the whole weekend.
Yeah.
but we'll be coming over.
Yeah, if you need anything from Denmark, let us know.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Giant already ordered bagels.
Yeah, we have some good bagels here.
Okay. I'll put in a request.
They are great for off season. They are
400 calories.
They're 400 calories a bagel.
Wow, that's good.
70 grams of carbs.
Yeah, that's good, man. I'll need some of them.
Did you ever find a solution for your jam problem?
Basically, the issue was the honey. So I was using honey for a while, and it's just an awful carbohydrate. So I switched it to jam, and I managed to get away with it for a while. What I did was actually I weighed out. So I was having 100 grams of jam and 2 bagels post workout. So I ended up, and I think I had like 3 or 4 squares bars as well. And so I just had the jam on a plate, and then the 2 bagels next to it, and I sort of like dipped the bagels in the jam.
That's a lot of jam.
Yeah, it's too much, man. I didn't enjoy eating like that at all. It wasn't good for me. But it did the job for a while. The rest of the diet looked a lot better than that.
Yeah, the post-workout is always a mess.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it and you're like, why the fuck am I eating this? Like,
yeah, my post-workout at the moment, when we were training, is like a bowl of pineapple, bowl of rice, bowl of ball of sugar pops, some bread, and some jam.
Yeah. I mean, you look at it and you're like, oh, what is this?
It's a buffet.
Yeah, you're looking at it like, oh, that's 300 grams of carbs and 5 plates.
Yeah.
And then you eat it, and then the rest of your day is ruined. You can't do anything.
It definitely takes a toll on you.
It does. You just want to fall asleep straight away. But
and everybody is like, oh, that must be so delicious. And you're like,
yeah, not when you're deep in off season.
No, it's not. Not at all.
I know that you know how much food Kuba pushed me on.
Yeah, disgusting.
You know, when he's adding 60 grams of carbs from juice, you know it's bad.
Yeah.
Then you know it's bad, man.
Horrible food intake.
Those 800, 900 grams of carbs a day.
Yeah. You know, I wasn't tracking, you know, my ketchup or whatever I put on my food, but tracking the direct food sources, it was 915 grams of carbs on training days.
Horrible.
Yeah, 6 meals and an intra.
Grim, mate. Grim.
Yeah, but it was fucked up.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
Oh yeah. When I was working with Jordan, back in 2018, I had 6 months where I got up every night to eat to get it all down. Every night without fail for 6 months.
He pushed you 70 pounds.
So bad for your sleep.
I started working with Jordan right when I got off stage in May 2018. I was 182 pounds on stage.
Yeah.
And when me and Jordan stopped working together, I was in January 2019. So that's 8 months. I was 250 pounds. That's 70 pounds. In
250 pounds of pure love.
Yeah, pure love handles.
And love handles.
Wow.
But it definitely put on muscle, and it definitely gave me strength. That was an extreme push-up. That's something like Jordan has done before himself, 70-pound push-ups.
Yeah. He hasn't pushed me that far. Not yet.
No.
But
I don't know. It's funny because we've both worked with Jordan, but it's been very different.
Yeah.
Very different.
Everything is very different.
But that's good because that shows that, you know, it's not cookie cutter.
Yeah, and principles change. You know, people adapt their principles. People do things that they maybe shouldn't have done or maybe have learned from. And, you know, I'm the same with clients. I've fucked up with clients before, and I've made decisions that maybe weren't correct. You know, not big fuck ups, but like things that maybe weren't right at that period. And then you learn from them, you adapt, and, you know, some similar client comes along and you're like, okay, well, let's not do that again, kind of thing.
Yeah, I would say in defense of Jordan, it wasn't planned. We were planning to then start the deficit, but that was in January 19 when he launched his supplements, his clothing company, and he had a lineup of seminars coming at him. So he had to cut down his number of clients, and you roll the dice. I was one of them, and that's just how it goes.
Yeah.
So I was left at the end of a 70-pound push-up, fat as fuck. And like, okay, well,
put on the big boy boots.
Yeah. So I had a few months with myself where I just, I went through a lot personally in that time.
Okay.
So I took it a little bit easy. I was still coming down in weight, but I allowed myself a lot more social off-plane meals. I didn't say no to go out to eat with friends. I would say maybe going from, you know, perfect weeks, I was maybe having 2 to 3 off-plane meals every week.
Okay.
I lowered my weekly intake, so I still made sure I was coming down. So I was in kilos when me and Jordan stopped working. We were 112 kilos. It was the highest weight we hit. And then when I started working with Kuba in May, which was like 3.5 months later, I was 98 kilos. So I did take off 14 kilos myself in 3 months, which, when you think about it, is quite a lot.
Yeah, for sure. And probably needed. Yeah.
It was needed.
You said it.
It was needed. I got the stretch marks. Before working with Jordan, I only had the good stretch marks, you know.
Yeah.
The chest,
trophies.
Fat ones.
The chest, the inner thigh, the lats, all this. Jordan gave me the ones on the hips.
Perfect.
Free of charge.
Yeah, free of charge.
Oh dear.
Yeah. But I think we'll just round this off.
Yeah.
Unless you got something.
Unless you have something you want to add.
No, man, I think we're good. I think that was pretty much everything I could have possibly said. So,
Just
yeah.
Just two things. Where can people find you? What is your Instagram, your YouTube, your website, your member site, coaching inquiries? Tell us.
Plug yourself.
Sure. So the Instagram's AJ Morris _. The YouTube, just search AJ Morris. You'll be able to find me on there. Website wise and membership wise, it's just madebymorriscoaching.com. And that's just very sort of similar content that you'd see on Jordan's site with regards to training and educational content on there as well.
Is that only for clients?
Started that. Yes. Yeah. Clients log on there. The log is a little quiet at the moment, unfortunately, because of Corona. It's kind of ruined the training log aspect of things because not many people are training.
The
which
website
is a shame.
Sorry interrupting. Is the website only for your client, or can anyone sign up?
Oh, sorry. It's no, it's open for everyone. So anyone can be a membership. Anyone can have a membership. Sorry, it's $4.99 a month. So it's dead cheap.
British pounds. That is about 50 krona.
Yeah. I made it cheap and easy to access because the reason why I did it is I was putting out a lot of free content on YouTube for a long time. For a long time, I did daily video content on YouTube for free. And I just thought, well, I'm investing more money in the way that I produce these videos. I'm investing in videographers and things like that. So I'd like to get a little bit back from it. And I'd like to obviously get people to be part of something. So I just made it a paid membership site and it's going well. I'm closing in on 1,000 members. So I really like to get to 1,000 members by, the middle of this year. It's looking a little more tough now. It was going very well when the prep started, but now it's like, okay, let's think different about the content. Let's produce something that's still, value, but maybe not the same.
Maybe you can get a search of new members here from Denmark, because this is a perfect time. People are sitting at home. You can watch all the videos back.
Exactly. There's 250 plus videos on there. So
this is the perfect time to learn, educate yourself, and be extra ready for when the gym's open, to stay motivated so you don't fall off the wagon. It's a perfect time for you guys to invest and go learn something new.
Yeah. Thank you, dude. Yeah, I appreciate that. I couldn't agree more. So, you've got more time to spend doing these things, and a lot of people don't use these sites as much as they should because of time. So now you've got more time, there's more reason to use them, and there's plenty of content which you can apply when you do get back into the gym. Yeah. Whether it's even just motivation or it's the educational side of the site as well. So, and that's pretty much me. Other than that,
we have one last thing.
We have a pronouncement.
You have to pronounce the podcast name in Danish. We had the giant do this.
He was pretty good at it.
He was pretty good. In English, it's called A Chat About Training.
Okay.
Pretty simple.
On Danish?
On Danish, we'll take it word by word, and then you'll say it in fully last, okay?
Oh my God. Okay. Right, I'll give it a shot.
Okay. En.
Okay. En,
yeah. Snak.
Snak.
Training.
Say it again.
En snak træning.
En snak træning.
Yeah, that was good. The giant was like, it's not training. You got it better. There's a letter.
Good. I like that.
The Danish letter.
Yeah, we got the Scandinavian letters.
We got Scandinavian letters. We have 3 more letters than you guys. It's sounds you don't have in your vocabulary. So that was pretty good.
I like it. It's interesting. All right, then. Thanks very much, guys.
Thank you so much for coming on. It was great. I hope you guys learned something from AJ and that you will sign up for his site.
Yeah.
And that you took something away from the whole talk about training today. A chat about training, as always. Yeah. All right. Maybe that's Barney coming in.
See you, AJ.
I'll see you soon, man.
Yeah, We'll see you soon.
Bye.
In a bit. Bye.